Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Walking Dead. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's pick up with Yumiko, Ezekiel, and Eugene when they get introduced to Juanita, but let's call her Princess because she never liked the name Juanita. And it's so interesting. I like our introduction to Juanita because she's kooky and she's weird and she's a little crazy. We've never met a quirky character like her. I mean, I guess like the closest thing you could say is Eugene, and yeah, Eugene's quirky, but man, Juanita's on a lane on her own because she is kind of crazy. The fact of the matter is, she's like, whoa, the first people I've seen in like a whole year, but you're here and you're kind of talking to me like this. You're talking a little mean. And then she started going, wait, are you real or are you fake? And Yumiko's like, are you serious? And she's like, I don't know. Like this could, I've been here alone a while. Maybe this could be all part of my mind. And she's like, okay, tell me something I wouldn't know. So that way I can prove that you're real. And what was it? She says like, what's the capital? Like Pennsylvania or something. Eugene says it. And she's like, oh, it's like, but did I know? I knew that, didn't I? Did I know that? And it's like, she's crazy, dude. Holy crap. I was like, this is all. And even, Ezekiel, for one, I love the fact that she was like, yeah, she decided to call herself Princess, but she didn't want to go by Queen because she felt like that'd be like, oh, I'm too full of myself. And Ezekiel was like, I'm Ezekiel. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of had to drop that king shit, didn't you? But the fact of the matter is, he was like, yeah, I admire all your work. She's like, oh, yeah. She's like, yeah, there's only a few like rotters around, walkers. So for her, it's like she kind of did it to kind of spruce the place up a little bit. But the fact of the matter is, she's like, oh, I'm here to help. I can show you guys around the city and stuff like that. And then like it's like some walkers show up and she's like, no worry, I got this. And they're like, no. She fires a gun, scares the horses off, and it's like, and she's looking like, my bad. That was on me. And so she's kind of like apologizing profusely. And obviously for Yumiko, it's like, I don't trust her. Literally, someone who's been by themselves like this for so long either can't be can't be trusted, or is just kind of they're crazy, or in this case it's kind of like both, that like this woman just, there's something off about her, that this might be like a trap or something, so. But Ezekiel's like, we should give her a chance because I'm not saying we trust her, but the fact is we should, she knows her way around, so we should at least follow her. And Eugene's like, honestly, we don't have that much time to really debate, and like we don't know the city like that, so he kind of agrees with Ezekiel, and she's like, dude, she's kind of like, dude, like, don't worry, I got you. It's just like, man, Juanita, I'm like the entire time I'm like, yeah, I love you, Juanita. I'm already madly in love with you. You're the best already. I love you. And so, she has to hand over her gun and everything, and then she's kind of talking to herself, but like, why should I hand over my gun? It's like, the fact of the matter is, I can maybe take one of you, but then the other two, but then this one over here, he'll probably get me, but And so she's literally talking this out loud too while she's saying all this. And it's like, fine, here's my gun. And it's like, all right, she's kind of like, all right, follow me. And even with like just a little tidbit, I know I'm all over the place. I do apologize, but I love that whole thing of like Ezekiel being like, oh yeah, okay, come over. We're ready to talk to you. And she's looking around, she's pointing like, oh, me? You're talking to me? It's like, you're literally the only other person. For one, you're the only person in that direction. Two, you're the only other person around. So I love that. But nevertheless, she leads them through, and the moment she said those words of watch your step, I was like, is this a goddamn minefield? I was like, there's a whole bunch of landmines around, aren't they? And the fact is, because I halfway expected it while they were going through the fence, we cut over, like the camera turns and shows a sign, but it doesn't. But the way she was tiptoeing, I was like, there's got to be, damn it, mines all over the place. And then they're just doing their thing, and it's like, holy shit, look, that's one of your horses. Look like we found where one of them went. It's like, oh, what did that? Walkers? No, probably the landmines. What do you mean landmines? Those things that are underground that go boom? And it's like, wait, you knew they were here? It's like you knew they were here and you didn't say anything to us. That is wild. I was like, oh, that is next level of like, what are you doing? I even at one point, Yumiko's like, if you don't get us through this, I will kill you myself. And she's like, Princess is like, that's fair. I'm like, dude, because like she was counting her steps, but then she lost track because she's like, honestly, I lost count because I didn't remember, because I've never stopped in the middle, so I kept going. So now I'm trying to figure out, she drinks a little from her canteen, throws it, boom. Anyone else got another canteen? It's like, oh my God. I was like, is this literally how this is going to play? I was like, oh dude, this is going to be gnarly. it's like, okay, so what are you gonna do? And so Yumiko, ends up kind of, apologizing about the whole situation. I'll get to it later on, but I love the whole, her kind of being apologetic. She's like, it's like, because obviously she's stressing out, but, it's like, yeah, you kind of lied to us, but if you want to be on a better footing with us, get us through this safely. And then she's like, okay. And she kind of almost does like an eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm like, you're really doing eeny, meeny, miny, mo with this? It sounded like eeny, meeny, miny, mo to me. And I'm like, oh, God. She picks a direction and she goes, oh, God, I'm still here. It should be safe from here, guys. Come on. I'm like, oh, really? And it's like, oh, man, we made it through. Wait, what was this? Fleetfoot wood drive or something like that. Eugene's like, wait. And she's like, nah, there's like 5 of those all around. It's like, no, he's like, I took notice of this. And it's like, wait, we could have taken a direct path here. And she's like, all right, guys, I kind of messed up. We kind of missed the path. Like, I kind of missed the turn to take you here. So I ended up taking the scenic route because I thought you would enjoy the scenic route. But it's like, that scenic route was filled with landmines. She's like, yeah, but I've been through it so many times. I didn't think it'd be an issue until it became an issue. I'm like, dude. And then Yumiko's got the bow on her. It's like, cause she's like, you must be playing at something. And then we get to the hard truth. Like Juanita, it's like for her, it's like she's kind of been on her own. And for like someone had said something to her that you're hard to love. So for her, it's like the moment she messed up and missed her turn, she was afraid to be like, honestly, guys, I kind of got lost. We need to turn back around. She was like, she was too afraid to admit her mistake because she felt like, cause for her, it's like, you guys, she's like, I wanted to spend more time with you guys. So for one, these are the first people she's seen at least over a year. We don't know the circumstances of how she got here. I am going to interject by really quickly saying, I don't know if this is a Fear of the Walking Dead thing. That always comes up from time to time where it's like, I don't know if she's a Fear of the Walking Dead character or some correlation to the show. Once again, I've not seen the show. I'm going to take time to watch it because I have a lot of free time now. So like, it's one of those things I'm going to catch up because like, I'm sure there's a lot time. There's at least some crossover and some references that probably would pop up that I probably would appreciate. Besides, regardless, I'm going into tangents, but I'm wondering if she did that. Probably not. It's probably just a situation of, no, she's just here, regardless of it all. But the fact is, her explanation is, because she was just afraid that like they wouldn't want to hang out with her anymore. That they basically leave her behind and she'd be stuck in the city by herself. But it's like, because her first time in a year, she's met other people, had a potential, but her like social skills aren't that great, But then, Eugene, and I love this, Eugene being like, honestly, I understand where you're coming from. You tell lies because you're so afraid of being left behind. And it's like, Eugene knows that better than anyone. He lied once again to the whole, Rosita and Abraham situation. So he knows exactly where Princess is coming from with this whole situation. So it's like, but he's like, so it's okay. And kind of pats her on the shoulder. He's like, but you were telling the truth about those wheels. Show up at the garage. There are wheels. Because at first I was like, oh, it's just wheels. I was like, is it going to be that there are actually no cars here, just wheels? Oh no, they're bikes. I was like, at least they're bikes. So it's like, oh, at least she never lied about the wheels. So Yumiko was like, all right, so because you did lead us here and everything, you can come along. And it's like, wait, what? She's like, oh wait, do we have time to stop by my place? I got what would she say? I got supplies, I got like weapons, I got clothes, I got like this cool ass spear, I got candy. And then the moment she says that, Eugene kind of looks at her because they had that whole conversation about candy bars, or rather candy in general, last episode. So it's kind of looking like, oh, like maybe Eugene was looking at it as kind of a bit of a sign. And it's just kind of like, Juanita hugs Yumiko and everything. It's like, all right, just don't lie to us anymore. Besides, your way around. And it's like, oh, look at you, Yumiko, like warming up to her and everything, So that's pretty dope. So I'm like, all right, this interest. For one, I'm glad. I hope it isn't going to be one of those sad situations that we get introduced to Juanita, but she's immediately killed off. That has happened, once again, Noah's a great example. He wasn't with the squad that long before he ended up dying a very brutal death. That was way back in season 5, but that's kind of an example of just like a character you kind of get time to really know. Hell, Gamma's kind of the same thing. We kind of known Gamma for a while, but it's just like, it's still that instance of like, this is a character you kind of gotten to know a little bit, and it's like, oh, we're going to like cut that off real quickly. We'll see whether that ends up being a thing or not. Another interesting element to this whole thing was obviously like Beta and the Whisperer show up in Alexandria, but it's like, it's empty. I'm like, oh, they bailed out. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because the last thing we saw last episode, they were obviously in Alexandria because Carol went there and obviously Daryl was there, which meant Negan was there as well. So there was people there. Because after the old Hilltop thing, there was some, obviously they're scattered around, but obviously there was still plenty of people in Alexandria. But it's like they bailed it and everything. I was like, all right, so what's the plan? and we saw that Aaron and Odin were nearby, kind of keeping track of them in a nearby. They were hiding in a nearby tower and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I was like, what is your plan? Because we never actually fully got to figure it out. But it's like Luke was doing something, but he needed something. So Carol was like, hey, I need you to go. I'll go get whatever it is you need. Kelly goes with her. And I like the heart-to-heart she had with Kelly, because she ends up apologizing to Kelly about the whole Connie thing. But she's like, no, you don't need to apologize. She's like, yeah, I actually do. It's like, because for her, it's like like if I could go back in time, I'd do things differently. But it's like for Kelly, it's like, I don't think Connie's dead, because for her, it's like, I refuse to believe that, I don't even want to let myself believe that, just because I know how strong she is. And ends up talking about the fact is, because when I lost my hearing, I thought I thought of it as a weakness, but my sister told me it was more of a strength and, kind of her superpower, and now other people are learning sign language because of me. And so for her, it's like everyone kind of has had something that only they can do. So she's saying like she understands why Carol did what she did, all of it. It's like, because at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, some bad stuff happening, but it can't stop you from doing what you kind of have to do. Because she's like, I've heard all the stories about you. We are, which is kind of interesting to hear that, because it's almost like, let's not forget, Carol's been a part of this group. She's done a lot of badass shit over the course of this series. So she's kind of a bit of a legend amongst the group. So you probably hear all the stories like, yo, Carol did this, she did that. And that's something I brought up before. Carol's kind of been off on her own and done other stuff too. And she survived. She's always come through in the end. And it's like, you're kind of the lone wolf. You do what only you can do. And that's been many instances of Carol having to be like, once again, it's an example I brought up like last episode, was the whole situation with Carol, like when the whole getting kicked out of the prison situation around season 4, because she killed those people she thought were infected and stuff like that. Like, she always did what she thought she had to do, something only she could do that no one else was willing to do. Hell, when it first showed up at Alexandria, her playing that role of like, oh, like sweet old lady who doesn't do anything wrong, who thinks, so it's stuff like that. I think it's kind of fascinating. So like, there's a lot to Carol. And so, Kelly is like, if you take away that thing that you're kind of good at, like, just because of the bad that comes with it, don't. So, because basically I'm saying you can't let, the bad stop you from doing what you need to do, in the grand scheme of things, because people count on Carol for being who she is. That lone wolf aspect of her is part of who she is. It's something only she can do. And like, that's the role she kind of plays. So I thought that was just an interesting conversation between those two. Then another lane to this whole situation is the whole Negan and Lydia thing. That was interesting, because obviously you had that whole situation where, Judith is talking to Lydia, being like, hey, like, I'm sorry your mom died, which Lydia was like, don't be, you shouldn't, because obviously everyone wanted her mom dead, because her mom was an evil person who killed a lot of people they cared about, even someone that she cared about, Henry. But Judith was still kind of like, yeah, but that was still, are you okay? Because like, she knows, like, at the end of the day, that's your mom. But but for Lydia, it's like, regardless of all that, like, not everyone's lucky to have a mom like you, which obviously Lydia doesn't know. I mean, that still doesn't come up in conversation, because I think it'd just be a weird, awkward situation, because she's probably not probably, she definitely is too young to remember, because like the only mom she knows is Michonne. But like, like, I'm wondering about like the whole thing of like, well, your bio mom is dead. So it's like, I don't know if that's something that ever really came up in conversation too much. Like, she was super young at the time, so it's like, but she knows what it's like to lose a mom. I mean, but it's a different lane, because like she never knew her OG mom like that. She only knew Michonne as kind of her mom, so, but it's like, but it's also, Lydia's in a very unique position, because her mom's kind of a terrible person. And, at the end of the day, it's like, Negan's trying to make her feel better, because you see Negan kind of nearby. And I was wondering, like, because the only other person, like I said, the only other person in this group amongst the communities he's okay or pretty tight with is Judith. And kind of Lydia, because they're both outsiders. They were once enemies, now kind of part of the team, but kind of not, still outsiders in that regard. And obviously he's trying to make her feel better by bringing her. She's like, I'm not going to eat rat. He's like, it's not rat, it's raccoon. But raccoon. I said raccoon. Same name, just the way I talk. Regardless, but he was trying to bring levity to the situation, because she's like, he's like, what was it like, are you actually avoiding me? And she's like, yeah, I am. And he's like, well, honestly, she's like, oh, would you prefer me to lie to you? And he was like, no, I wouldn't. I like the fact that you're telling me the truth. But for him, it's like, you might as well kind of say what you want to say, because it's like everyone wanted her mom dead. But the thing is, everyone was kind of wishing that he would have died too. And she kind of walks away because he was trying to tell her that it's okay to kind of feel bad. He's like, because at the end of the day, he's like, I actually liked your mom. Like, there was actually qualities about her that I actually liked. I'm sure you're not going to mention the fact is that you two banged. I'm sure that's going to be a secret you take to the grave. But the fact is, for Lydia, obviously that doesn't mean anything. So later on, she kind of confronts him again. He's like, you don't get to tell me how to feel. He's like, that's 100% right. He's like, if you need to, you can hit me, because that's the only way you're going to feel better. It might help you feel better, because like you keeping that all bottled up isn't going to do you any good. And for her, it just pisses her off, because it's like she hates her mom. Like, I should hate her wholly, like fully. I should hate her. But there's still that part of her that, despite everything, like, because even when she had the opportunity to, she didn't kill her mom. Because once again, Daryl, a couple episodes back, Daryl had asked her, like, oh, did you kill your mom? And it's like, no. And then she asked him, would you kill your own dad? So it's a situation of, despite everything, that is your mom. You only get one of them in this life. And so the fact of the matter, and that was something even Negan was talking about, is that the fact of the matter is you still loved her, and that's okay that you loved her. Like, no one can, like, it's hard thing. It's like, just because, I mean, that's a real life thing of like, despite the atrocities your family members commit, they're still family to you. Especially in this case of like, she did a lot of terrible stuff, but that was your mom, your one and only mom. She might not have always been that way. Kind of was, kind of wasn't. We don't got the full scope, but enough of the scope of us to know like there was always a little bit of that in Alpha in the first place. But still, it's like that was your mom, so she's beating on Negan, and she's breaking down, because it's like, it's kind of let it all out, because you do miss your mom, and it's okay to grieve her, despite it's like it's okay to feel that complication of you hate her, but at the same time it's like you can't fully hate her because there's still a part of you that loves her. So it's a very complicated mixed bag of emotions that she's most likely going through at this time. So all the while that's going down, there's a whole situation with Judith. She's out there with Daryl, because Daryl's trying to get in contact with Michonne. No luck. But Judith wants to be out there and help. She's like, no, I left a note to Gabriel telling him like what's going, like I'm out here, like it's okay. She's like, I want to see what you do. So like he's teaching her the ropes of like, all right, I look around, I try to see like what's out of place, and it's like, oh, you see that? Was that a walker or was that a whisperer? And it's like, it was a walker. So it's like, okay, so they're probably in the area gathering up walkers. And when the time came, he ended up shooting one. And they end up killing the walkers, and then they track her down, and she's wounded, and she's got a knife, but she's like, pull the arrow out of me. I don't want to die like this. It's unnatural. And he's asking her questions about like, obviously she doesn't want to follow Beta anymore. We'll get to that soon enough. So the fact of the matter is, it is a thing of like, okay, she was kind of on her own a little bit, because that was like her family and everything, but she kind of had to leave behind because she didn't want to follow Beta anymore. So she's like, please just pull the arrow out of me, basically let me turn. But Daryl didn't, because there was no information out of her. He just puts a bolt in her head, an arrow in her head. And, it's a situation of Judith asking questions like, well, why did you do that? It's like, well, because she was going to die anyway. This way makes it faster. But it's like, wait, we're just going to leave her behind? And it's like, what if she had a family and Daryl's just kind of pulling her along? Immediately my brain is like, let's not forget what happened at Hilltop. She was in the middle of killing a Whisper. They ended up dying anyway, but she paused like when she was about to bring her blade down because she saw it was a person. Because it's that struggle that you haven't had to go through. For one, you're still a kid. So killing walkers is one thing, but like killing a person, that's a whole other lane of things that you haven't had to deal with too much. Obviously, it's something Carl eventually had to deal with. It's something all the adults have had to deal with, but it's something Judith's been fortunate enough to be in a position. I mean, who knows in this world whether that's a benefit or a detriment. The fact is, so I was thinking like, oh, maybe like for her, it's a different thing when you're fighting them, especially once the mask is off, because like you see the person underneath, like, because with the mask on, it's just like, oh, it's like killing a walker, but the moment the mask comes off, it humanizes them, and like this is a person, is different. But it's not just, that might be an angle to it, but another aspect to it is like she's worried because like Michonne's off on her own, and she's like, she doesn't know if her mom's going to come back, because it's like, we left her back there in a ditch. No one will ever know what happened to her. And she's scared that that's going to happen to Michonne. That's going to happen to anyone that she cares about. That's a possibility of like, this is the world that they live in, that, it's like, she's old enough at this point in time to recognize like that type of stuff of like this could happen to the people I care about. And it's like at the end of the day, I thought it was a nice moment between her and Daryl, where Daryl was kind of explaining like the fact of the matter is, making a promise, like she's like, because he's like, the fact is, even if people, it's hard to kind of keep going, when the people you love aren't around. But the fact of the matter is basically saying that going forward, that's not going to be nothing's going to break you, and he's promising to be there. Well, he's saying that he'll be there for her. And he's not going anywhere. And she's like, you promise? And he's like, I can't. And she's like, why not? He's like, because I don't want to lie to you, because I don't know what's going to happen, what the future might hold. Something might happen to me. But at the end of the day, it's like, there's plenty of people here they are your family too. They love you. They do anything for you. And when you get older, they're going to count on you to do anything for them, So I just thought that was kind of a touching and also growing moment, especially because, Daryl kind of has to step up into almost like that, parental role now, being Uncle Daryl, kind of almost playing the role of a father too, kind of having to teach her and kind of raise her under these circumstances, about like, the world that they live in. So all the while, going back a little bit, to kind of tying this all in, is the whole situation with Beta. And I think it's interesting because while Beta's hearing a voice, I'm like, is that supposed to be like Alpha? I was like, is it supposed to be a combination of like Alpha, like her psyche meets the mask of the person that he's wearing? I was like, is that what that's supposed to mean? Well, because the whole like, two eyes see the one truth type of thing. That's what I was wondering, if that's what it was. So he kept, because they were trying to decide on where to go. It was like, we're going to the ocean, but he was like, no, it doesn't seem right. And the voice kept reaching to him and like, all right, leave, because he was second guessing himself. And there was even that one, that might've been the same person, the one that, the scout that went off by herself. That was probably her, because she's like, we follow you, Alpha. He looked at her and she's like, Beta, I'm sorry. I was like, Jesus, like, what the hell are they supposed to call you? Are they supposed to still call you Beta then? And he pulls out his knife, but the voice in his head tells him to stop. And so that's why she went off on her own. I believe that was the same person. Might not have been, but I'm pretty sure it is, just because of the correlation. Or she's like, I can't follow him anymore. But nevertheless, as he's walking, he's starting to pick up signs, because he noticed the branches are broken. It's like, they've been this way. It's like, oh, this, or at the very least, he was piecing stuff together to be like, and then he sees the cat, which we know Negan was supposed to be kind of keeping the cats away or something like that. So it's like, I guess because if they have a whole bunch of cats running around, it might give away their location or something. That might be what that's kind of insinuating. But then, like, we hear the voice, and as he's walking, he's turning to the walker beside him, and it seems like the walker's talking. It's like, oh, Beta's just batshit crazy, but his crazy is just kind of, I guess it's like he's creating an alter ego to kind of lead him. It's like, since there's no more Alpha, he needs someone to kind of point him in the right direction. Maybe it's supposed to be a manifestation of like those two eyes, that being kind of his own eye and Alpha's eyes. Like I said, his mask, and the mask is made from Alpha's face. Kind of that walker beside him is kind of a representation of that. That voice is a representation of leading him in the right direction. And obviously Alden and Aaron are following them. And it's interesting because even Alden was saying the thing of like, maybe this whole plan will work, and Aaron's like, it has to work. And so for Alden, it's like he thought when Alpha was dead that maybe they'd be able to kind of see the light past all that they've lost. But it's a situation of, for Aaron, it's like kind of there's no seeing no light in the past. All they can do is not lose again, and all they can do is fight to ensure a future for Adam and Grace, so. But then they see the horde is stopping, and actually they're turning a different direction. And as they're turning, like, they get surrounded by Whisperers. So it's like, so did they get captured? Because at the end, we see Beta come across the hospital, which all of them are, because Gabriel had contacted Daryl, like, get back here, we're surrounded. So that's all going down. So it's like, where it was Aaron and Alda being held hostage, or like what's going on in that regard. It's definitely going to be interesting to see ultimately where everything takes us. The next episode is the season finale. I will note, though, the preview at the end of the episode said season finale later this year. It might be a production thing. I'm assuming, obviously, with the state of the world. So either like it might be like that episode's in post-production and they haven't been able to finish it up yet type of situation. So it might be that. Maybe there's something else to it. Because, like, before they preview to the next episode, because I didn't watch the preview, I caught bits and pieces, but, I try to avoid watching the previews. They did show stuff connected to, like, Rick's story, which, whatever that group that Jadis, once again, it's been a while, so I forgot her real name, but that was the name she was going under. Like, all that's connected to the people. Apparently, that's tied into Fear of the Walking Dead as well. And apparently, like, the way they're showing it in the trailer, because there was stuff from, like, Worlds Beyond, it seems like that's connected as well. That's going to be that, apparently that limited run other spinoff of The Walking Dead. Because that was supposed to come out like this month, but because of the circumstances of everything in the world, it's getting pushed to an unknown date later this year. So I'm thinking maybe because the season finale ties into that as well, maybe that's why they're pushing it back, or maybe it's just purely like a production thing or post-production thing of like they can't release the episode yet, so they're waiting. So like I said, that's just based on maybe if I look online, there might be some stuff, but like just based on the preview, it was like later this year. So I'm assuming there's still no sure date. So that's an interesting situation. So I'm really curious to see where all this ends up taking us going into the season finale, whenever it is that it does ultimately air. That's definitely going to be an interesting situation. But regardless, really, that's all I want to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.